I have never shared anything like what is coming up in this episode here. This episode, this is a live recording of a team call where I am presenting to the team why we are no longer running a team 100-mile ultramarathon in 2025 and why instead we are checking down the distance to 50 miles. Inside of this call, this became an unbelievable opportunity for me to clarify the team values, expand my vision for tribal training, and guide every single athlete to improve their process, their race execution, and overall just strengthen the mission of the tribe. Let's go. Before we get into this, I want to remind you that there are still opportunities to join tribal training. If you are interested in all that's going on in here, if you want to be a part of team ultramarathon experiences, team trail fests, team 70.3s, team Ironmans, any of that stuff, fill out the form on traintribal.com and join now. We've got limited spots left as we are heading into the fall and preparing for 2025. We've already got about 5 team events on the 2025 calendar. And if this message is calling to you, now is the time to act. I will drop a link into the bottom of this episode, traintribal.com, fill out an athlete submission, and join this movement. This is not for everybody, but it might be exactly what you need. Now, with that, let's get to it. Okay, cool. We are live here. Impromptu chat on the tribal ultra plans for 2025. We've had a couple of adjustments to the plan, and I just wanted to hold some space here to basically talk through my ideas, the events that we're going to be having, why we have maybe changed things up, and we'll absolutely open this up to questions, comments, input from anybody else here. To just sort of state on what is going on. So we obviously had Zion 100 this past year, team 100-mile ultramarathon, goal being to start together, run together, finish together. And after that experience, we were looking to run this back at Antelope Canyon with a couple different options, running in smaller groups, running the 100, having some shorter race distance options. Some details with that race changed up. They didn't have the 100. And so I have been working through really what to adjust to moving forward. And I really just want to use this space to just like be open and honest with you guys on what I think was the greatest value of that experience and how I'm looking to apply that value and really move this team mission forward. A lot of you guys listened to my interaction with Boldness keynote at Do Hard Things, and I was talking about the Tribal 100. And as I've been reflecting on this more, I have realized that my goals around team ultramarathons are really around bringing people together, creating the opportunity for extreme accomplishment, sharing the experience along the way, and creating opportunities for multiple touch points really throughout the whole weekend. And that has guided me towards shifting up what I'm looking to do here. So first adjustment that I just want to touch on is the Tribal Trail Fest. So Tribal Trail Fest is going to be a 3-day trail running festival that I am going to be hosting that's going to be July 31st to August 2nd. And the goals for that weekend are some of the things that I just touched on: experience, connection, accomplishment. But we've also got a lot of opportunities for people to provide support, aid, crew throughout that experience. And again, the idea for like more touch points with teammates throughout the whole weekend. Some of you guys may know this, some of you may not. The Do Hard Things conference is not continuing for the foreseeable future. And so I see an opportunity for Tribal to create an event both within our community and then opened up to the public where we create an experience that provides some of the value of that conference style experience while bringing in some of the things that are true to our mission, right? Racing, crossing finish lines, and putting on events like that, right? So that's kind of my vision right there. And I will say that I shifted from the idea of me hosting a 100-mile race to me hosting the Trail Fest, of course, for all those reasons that I already mentioned, but also my goal isn't just to host a 100-mile race and have us, show up, run it, and then leave. Like, I want there to be connection and development throughout the entire weekend. And I also want to create some opportunity for people within this community to step up as leaders. Like, I very much see how Zach has given me the chance to speak and how that's been huge for my development and the development of Tribal. I want to create opportunities within that Trail Fest weekend for people within the team to have speaking opportunities. I'm thinking about my sister being able to host like yoga sessions. I'm thinking about people within the team being able to host mindset workshops, things like that. So if you are part of Tribal and if you're wanting to step up as a leader, this experience is going to be an avenue for you to do that while at the same time tackling a bunch of finish lines. Now, on to the adjustment to Elephant Mountain 50, not having a 100-mile race. So I've had some of you guys come to me in the past day or so and said, hey, what about the 100? Why are we not doing 100, right? I've had some of you guys reference Enter Action with Boldness. And it's fired me up, man, because I see that you guys are getting a sense of my vision, right, and what I want this to be. But I also want to help you recalibrate on how we can enter action with boldness and how we can have a bit of a longer-term vision. So the number one thing that I'm really seeing here for the team is the opportunity to have an event that allows us to dial more in on three things. Number one is process, right? Lowering the bar to raise our execution and at the same time elevating what we are capable of. Number one is process. Number two is race execution that's embedded in that. And then number three is longer term vision. I am still of the mindset that the 100 has to be done. The 100 has to be done. But as I am getting a pulse on the entire team, I'm recognizing that this is so much bigger than what's just in the next 6 months. This is so much bigger than that. This is about what are we doing in the next 12 months? What are we doing in the next 18 months, right? And I'm seeing opportunity for athletes on the team to find a little bit more balance in their daily life, get out of this idea of grind mode of like, oh man, I got into Tribal, I'm pushing to this race, holy shit. Being in the team, I pushed up and signed up for this next race. Now I'm pushing to that. Holy shit, now there's a 100-mile right around the corner. Now I'm pushing to that, right? Getting out of grind mode, right? Having more harmony in the process and at the same time, elevating our overall execution. Now, I got a couple more notes here that I'll kind of just rip through. We got some examples here that like I'm building this off of. Number one is Chattanooga 70.3. That was the most successful team experience that we've had. Half of those athletes were first timers, and all of the returning athletes set personal bests in the 70.3. Now, of this group of around 17 people that are in on this team ultra, around half of them were already looking at doing the 50. Of the half that were looking to do 100, I 100% believe there's more value in executing a 50 better than going out and looking to just do 100 miles, come up short, recreate the failure but victory through Zion. I don't know. I'm thinking about somebody like Dylan Spina. Dylan Spina is another good example here. Coming out of Zion, one of the big adjustments to Spina's plan was, hey, we're actually going to have you start doing shorter distance races so that you can execute better on these. Spina paced Chris in some distance of a race, 50K or under that, maybe something like that. And then Spina ran a 50 miler. And guess what happened? Spina had his best race experiences and race executions in his entire ultramarathon and endurance journey, which previously had only been focused on I'm doing an Ironman, that's my first ever triathlon. I'm doing a 100K, that's my first ever 100 ultramarathon. Oh, I'm running 100 miles. Right? So by lowering the bar and raising the execution, Spina is developing more as an athlete. Another couple of examples here, just like within training, are certainly Matt Dalton, and I would say Tony Post as well. Lowering the goal, raising the process, and accomplishing more. Embedded within all of this is that I do also want to make the ultra marathon experience a little bit more accessible for tribal athletes. And that is blended between both the Tribal Trail Fest as well as the 50 miler. I have a couple of more notes here, but I feel like I've been rolling on here on this for upwards of 10 minutes. So I'm going to pause here, and maybe Goldstein, do you have anything to add in here, and then maybe we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, I love that. I love the aims that you're sort of directing everybody towards. And I would just add one more thing. Like one of the things that I like to promote when we're thinking about training, words like creativity, imagination, and adventure. One of the, I think there's a very limited way to think about an ultra, which is distance only, right? And when we sort of strip away the meaning of the distance, we can actually see that within any one distance, there are multiple different ways for us to enter in with boldness. So, for example, one of the ideas that we had with Antelope was like smaller groups, right? Smaller teams. If you're somebody that doesn't necessarily think a 50 miler is the challenge, well, what about leading people who've never done an ultra before, right? Like those Zion podcasts reveal how much it took for Ryan and for I to sort of live coach through the process. So why not, instead of just looking at the distance, look at or think about what could I be doing through the distance that adds in challenge or that forces me to grow in maybe a different way than just looking at a longer race. Like there's many different options and avenues and opportunities for growth and for challenge and for boldness that can all be accomplished within, we'll say, a race of a shorter distance. Like one of the ideas that just popped into my mind is like we wanted to go 10 for 10 starting together, moving together and finishing together. That was really difficult over the 100, but maybe something like that is possible over a 50, where some people say, yeah, let's all go as a big group and let's see if we can do that ridiculously hard thing in a 50-mile context. We weren't even able to do it at Zion in 50 miles. We all frayed up around like mile 40. So we didn't even accomplish that all together. So let's just think about being imaginative and creative with some of the goals or some of the ways we can think about moving through the course together. And that can sort of like open up the experience for us as opposed to just being limited by the number that's in front of the race distance. You know, we talk so often about like the subjective meanings and the subjective elements. Here's another opportunity for us as a team to like prove it that yeah, there are longer races, and certainly longer races one kind of a challenge, but there's multiple ideas of challenge within any race distance. So I would just encourage people to turn on that imagination. Like, what are the things that we could all try to do together? Big group, small group, because the team ultra is not about the individual, it's about a team. There's lots of opportunities for each individual to go after something for themselves next year on their own race calendars or to invite somebody else on the team along, right? On one of those bigger things. But the team ultra, it's aimed at something a little bit different. So I would just encourage everybody to put that imagination cap on, and let's brainstorm. Like, and we can figure out a lot of really fun things that are extremely hard and extremely savage, that we can all go after together. That would be
Right.
my one thing
So
that I'd like to add.
Right. So thanks for sharing that because now that's spiraling some ideas that I want to keep sharing. So, uh, number one, what were the biggest lessons from Zion? Certainly humility. After that, every single person was like, more race reps would have been valuable. And we learned that serving others made the experience more meaningful. So, what are we doing right here? Because this is also like I want you guys to look at this from, oh, I'm the athlete in this, but then also like I'm live coaching right here in how I'm actually orienting all this. It takes humility to step down from the 100 and say, oh, I'm going to do a 50 miler. Can we just pause and accept the fact that it's a little bit absurd if some of our mindsets have gone to the fact that 50 miles isn't hard? Are you fucking kidding me? If 50 miles isn't hard, dog, you're not running hard enough. You don't think 50 miles is hard? Okay, go get in the top 10%. Go get in the podium. Right? I've been coaching this team now for 3 years. Like, it's about time that we elevate some performances. Right? I'm all about getting guys to accomplish the thing they've never done before. And I don't care if you look like death coming across the finish. But yes, Mason's already got the next words I want to say. Let's elevate from complete to compete, dog. You've run 100K, you've run a 100 miler, you've done an Ironman. Cool. Again, let's check down and elevate. 50 is a race rep. I already told you. We still need to do the team 100, but the vision is longer term, man. Stop thinking in the next 4 months or 6 months. Think a year down the road. Think 2 years down the road. And service of others. I mean, Goldstein nailed it. If you are somebody who thinks that you are above a 50, dog, this is your chance to lead. And if you're not thinking about leading, if you're thinking about running the 100 as being your unlock, first it's the 100, right? Then it's the 200. Then it's the 300. Where's the contentment in that process? Right? Where's the contentment in the training process? There is none. A couple other things that I just want to highlight here is that we do have Trevor and Cam are signed up for Tahoe 200. So we have an extreme event on the calendar for the team, and there's already been talk of people wanting to support that and crew that. So part of the idea of doing the 50 is keeping that in mind of saying, hey, there's a fucking huge thing that I know at least a few people are going to want to contribute to. Maybe you run 100 miles in a pacing effort for them. Or, hey, if there's a few people here who want to run 100, like, I'm not stopping you. You can go sign up for 100. Like, you can get that on your calendar. But my decision here is orienting the 17 people that have committed to the Team Ultra, as well as opening the door for the other people inside a tribal who still see themselves as, I'm not that level of athlete. I can't do that. Right? I'm thinking about somebody like Matt Dalton, who's going to be running, I think, his first 50K this fall. Like, dude, if you're sitting here saying we should be running 100, you're thinking selfishly. Think about Matt Dalton. Think about what you pouring into the 50 would do if you see him run a 50K and then all of a sudden that piques his interest to 3 months later run a 50 with you leading him in a group of 3. You want to talk about changing your life and being a leader. That is what I see in this experience, and that is why I am orienting us towards this goal. The 100 still got to happen. The 100 still got to happen. I just got longer vision, and I want to bring more people along for the ride. We went with 10. We raced with 9. We had 3 finish, right? It was a good experience. But I want that fucking 10 for 10. I just want to make sure that we're ready for it. Go ahead, Logan.
You're speaking exactly how I felt when the Zion idea came to life. Where I was at in my endurance journey was like, I want to do something like that, but I'm not personally ready to commit to a 100-mile race. But the second the Antelope was an idea, 100% I'm down for 50. I've never been an ultra outside of, the full Mo, which we know is nowhere close to elevation of Antelope.
Let's still give the vote the respect it deserves.
Yeah, well, let's definitely do that. But I've got some work to do if I'm going to rock Antelope. But for where you're going to that, if there's folks who, Louis, I'm just going to pick on you because you came on camera for a second. Like, if you're not ready to go do the compete for this event, I would love to have that technical expert helping me get through the 50 as a first timer. If you want to elevate like your coaching opportunity, like I personally, as a newbie to the 50 mile and plus distance, would love that. I'd love to like learn from you from your experience in the past and how I can help you develop or elevate your coaching or mentorship for the endurance space.
And that goes right back to one of the biggest lessons from Zion. Supporting others makes the experience more meaningful. Process, race execution, all of that is right there in the opportunity that you just outlined. And I appreciate you calling that out. And I'm very much aligned with everything you shared there.
Hey, can I say something?
Please.
Team, good to see everybody. I am fucking pumped that this is a 50 miler. I'm really, really excited that this is a 50 miler. And,
Why?
you know, because we're all at different stages of ultramarathon athletes. And the goal is not necessarily to run until our fucking feet fall off. Sure, we can do that at some time, and we can push ourselves to our breaking points. But we want to become good, efficient, competitive ultramarathon runners. And this is a distance, this is a very, very solid distance of ultramarathon. I have run 100 miles multiple times, and all I keep, you know, there are these things that keep going through my head. I really want to become a student and an athlete of this sport, and there's more to it than just crossing a finish line of a 100-mile ultramarathon. There is the investment in crewing and pacing for others. There's the investment in volunteering for races and being a part of that community. There's an investment in understanding the different distances and the challenges that come with those distances. And we don't learn that from starting off on 100 miles. We learn it from adding and taking more steps and working our way towards that. So the things that I'm looking forward to doing over this next year are crewing and pacing and supporting others, volunteering for local races, meeting more people in my community, and covering all of the distances. I don't want to just grind myself into the ground at 100 miles. I've done that. It's great. The finish line is awesome. I get it. It's great. It's so, you know, I work in a place where I'm one of the only adult athletes in this area, and I wear a Vermont 100 belt buckle every fucking day. I'm very proud of that accomplishment. But at the same time, I really want to be a student of and an athlete in this sport, and this is all part of it. So I'm really pumped to hear that we're not just going to go out there and all. Ryan, you saw my reaction when we sat in your kitchen and we talked about running 100 miles, a group of 10 of us the first time. You saw my reaction. This is what I'm talking. This is where it is right here. So enough from me. Glad to see everybody. And Logan, looking forward to seeing you soon. All my other brothers that are going to be out there in Indy, looking forward to it.
Amazing, dude. Thank you for the share, and thank you for the trust. Honestly, thank you for the trust and for opening us up to your process and how you see your own thing, right? Your own development. I think it's just invaluable for folks to hear that. And I just appreciate your support a ton. I'll open this up here. Anybody else have anything they want to share, ask, contribute ideas with?
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, go ahead,
No,
Tara.
go ahead.
Hey, I'm pumped for the 50. I was signed up for the 50, so this is cool with me. I'm just curious of why the switch from Antelope 50 to this Elephant Mountain 50. Why not just keep Antelope?
Right. So there were a couple of different reasons. Number one was location, timing, and course I guess those were a couple different things that were sprinkling my mind. One of the real reasons that we chose Antelope was that it was one of the few 100-mile options in that end of winter, early spring timeline. And the looped course seemed like a positive setup for us trying to tackle 100. But there were some things that I had read online around the course that it was super sandy. Some of the course, just to me, didn't seem like the most exciting thing. There were a couple of spots on it that have really amazing views, but from the reviews that I had read, a lot of the course is a little bit more mundane. So something that just felt a little bit more, I want to say like appropriate challenge as well. I don't want to say that the looped course isn't a challenge, but the Elephant is a looped or a balloon style track. It's very convenient to get to logistically. It's just outside of Scottsdale. We have tons of Airbnb options for the team. They've got those mega mansions down in Scottsdale, Cave Creek area. And I also thought that the timing just aligned well. February 1st, that gives us enough time for the folks that are doing Ironman Florida on November 2nd. It allows us to get through the holidays without training needing to be an extreme stressor. I was looking at some things that were in mid-January, and it's like if you're doing a race in mid-January, that means that like around Thanksgiving and Christmas, you kind of need to be peaking. And truthfully, something about just the change up on all the Antelope stuff just kind of guided me intuitively to say like, hey, let's just find a little bit of a different option here. Do you have any further questions? Goldstein, you want to chime in?
Yeah, because I've run these trails. I know Cave Creek. Like, Cave Creek is a wildly awesome place. It is kind of got a little bit of that wild west feel. Like, I think the town itself was unincorporated until maybe like a few decades ago. So it's a really kind of a cool place. The trails are awesome. Really dynamic. They're a lot of fun to be on. The landscape itself is just incredible and beautiful. And logistically, it's really an easy drive from the Phoenix airport. It's like a 40-minute drive right from that airport. And as Ryan said, the variety of accommodations to find a really great team house is a lot better than in Page, Arizona, which, you know, we got to fly into Vegas and then we got to drive 3 hours to get to. It's just a little bit more work when we weigh the option up. And again, I haven't been to Antelope Canyon, to that area, but knowing Cave Creek and having run on those trails, everyone's going to have a great time, and we're going to get some amazing views and vistas and experiences out in that sort of like that open desert. And February out there, it can be gnarly. I was talking with Matt about this earlier this morning. The last time I was out in Cave Creek, I was running actually through snow. I was actually running through snowstorm, which, if you can imagine being in the desert and having snow falling on you, that's a pretty cool experience. So it definitely checks those like kind of like nature and adventure boxes, while also being logistically a lot easier when it comes to organizing and planning and getting everybody into like that tight-knit team house experience, which was one of the big pluses of Zion, having everybody together. We'd have to like be in a couple different houses with a couple different options. In Page, Arizona, it's wasn't quite as good logistically. So I'm just going to add those in.
Right. I appreciate that. And I'll also just add in, we have a lot of team events that are filling in for the full year. And so as I'm thinking about this, it's like, okay, well, the big Team 70.3 is in the middle of May. It's May 18th. Then I basically have June reserved for Trevor and Cam's Tahoe 200. That's like June 13th to 15th or 16th or something like that. And then in the middle or end of July is going to be the folks that do Oregon 70.3. And then that's going to lead right into Tribal Trail Fest. And then I have sort of into August, and then fall time is reserved for what the team Ironman unfolds to be. And so, it would have worked out if we did, March 7th and 8th, but you think about then the folks that are doing, Chattanooga 70.3 as well, that's kind of cutting right into what we'd prefer the heart of their build to be. And so by doing it in February, we've got a lot of lead time on that. I also like the February 1 date is going to give us some motivation to stay consistent through the holidays, right? Because we have seen athletes year over year now. I've continued to see athletes do something big in the fall and then fall off throughout the holidays and really struggle to get things back. So we're going to be able to use this to keep people motivated and keep people on top of their process, but at the same time, not have like the extreme pressure of like, holy shit, my peak run is like, the week of Christmas or something like that.
So I'll say something real quick, Ryan. What's up, team? So before jumping on this call, I had this idea. I was like, I heard that I read what you posted last night, Ryan, about changing the 100 miler to the Elephant 50, and I was thinking in my head the only I was down with the whole plan, but after listening to Louis and you and Jordan, that totally makes sense. 100%, like fully on board. The only hesitancy that I had was, the big value add from Zion, from my perspective, along with everything else that Jordan mentioned with, being there for people, selflessness, all those really good things that came from Zion. A lot of those things came because everybody pushed themselves to like their, I won't say breaking point, but they pushed themselves to their max, right? So those values came because we pushed ourselves, and the only hesitancy I had was, do we get that same? Do we get those same trade-offs with a 50 miler, right? I'm not saying 50 miles isn't a fucking long time. 50 miles is a very good distance, right? Especially for everybody that hasn't ran over 32 miles or like a longer distance, right? Or a longer marathon. I think 50 miles is really fucking really tough. But the thing with Zion was like, it was so special because everybody got something really unique to them, right? Because they pushed themselves to the max. And so I just want to make sure we don't miss that with this, that's it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I don't think you're wrong. I agree that part of the magic of Zion was the fact that it was the 100. And that's why I'll continue to say that we do need that 100. But as I'm just getting a pulse on the full team, it is very important to me, right? This team is an extension of how I lead my family, right? And how I want to show up as a husband and a father. And it's very important for me to find value and find contentment in any kind of process that I can then sustain long term. And so that is what I would defer to is, again, this isn't just about the next 6 months. This is about the next 2 years, right? And I want to continue to guide athletes to see that there's value in pouring everything they have to getting the most out of themselves in whatever the event is, right? And so, if we don't think that 50 is enough of a physical challenge, let's bring it back to that complete to compete point. Like maybe there's a group of you, Trevor, and Louis, and maybe you guys go try to do this thing in 10 hours, right? Maybe that's what it is. So there's a million different ways that we can push ourselves to and beyond what our perceived break point is without just making the extreme distance this idol that we have to chase. And this is even part of the process that I would coach you in, right? How can we show up more day to day, right? We're doing the 100, then we're doing the 200. They just launched the 300, right? And we're going to do these things. And unless our heart is in the right place and our process is true, none of these things are going to provide the fulfillment that we want.
No, I totally agree. As far as the team ultra goes, I think this is definitely the right move. You don't just jump into an Ironman and you don't do like an Olympic or a 70.3, right? You don't go from 0 to an Ironman. It's a building process, right? So I definitely think like long-term sustainability. I love the vision. The only thing is what I said, right? But I think you're right. Like, you know, some of us can step up as leaders and teach others and stuff. And there's a ton of opportunity, 100%. So yeah.
And for
I'm
somebody
glad.
like you, dude, like you have a 200-mile race in June, right? So like this is a great opportunity for you to basically put on like a statement performance, right? Because you have done big things, but as you explained in the recaps on the 100K and Ironman Nice, like you're kind of fighting against the clock and you're kind of grinding just to finish it out, right? And doing a 200, I mean, presumably that's going to be the outcome, right? It's the first time you're ever doing something like that. But the strength of process can really be solidified here in the 50.
No, 100%. I agree with you, 100%.
Louis, it looked like you might have chimed in for a second there or wanted to.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I will use this race as the starting point of my season. So my plan is to have a good solid 50 under my belt leading into the spring, where I'm sure I'll line up a 100-miler. And I will also, I'm turning 60 in a month, and I will know where my spot is and where I have to be competitive on that course in my age group. So I will do some research and find out, but I'm going to be looking for a group or some partners to go off the front probably and push hard if that's something that the coach says is reasonable, because we can make a really good statement there at this race. And like I said, it'll be a stepping stone for a 100-miler in the springtime, and it will be a good starting point for this season to prep me to pace a couple of our runners down at Tahoe, because that's definitely on my schedule for next year too. So yeah, I mean, there are a ton of great benefits of starting the season this way.
Right. And I like connecting this stuff to my own Ironman process, right? So Oregon 70.3 last year was like my best 70.3 ever by a mile. And I think about why that went down. It's because I did 2 Olympics in my build. And in each of those races, I got to prioritize, I'm hammering on the bike today, and let's see where the run pans out. Okay, then on this next race, let's go steadier on the bike and let's really leave it out there on the run. And then all of a sudden I show up to Oregon and have the best race of my life. Now, Oregon this past year, I've done 4 Ironmans, right? So I'm ready to just send it. My training hasn't been exactly perfect, right? I've been doing the 100 stuff. And so I just go balls out. And I'll tell you what, I got a lot of problems to figure out on the run. I'm in and out of bathrooms, right? This thing ain't easy. And so every single race that we do, right, if we can bring the right intention, if we can stay true to ourselves, like, you know, I want to be doing this stuff for the rest of my life. And so that's, again, this idea of, you know, it's not, holy shit, can we scramble and put together an 8-week build to this race? Oh, shit, let's do the biggest thing we can in the next 6 months. Like, a little bit of patience in the process. And how cool would it be that we can bring other teammates that are within Tribal already along for this journey when they might not have thought they could do it? And then what Louis is saying, right? We have a chance to really throw down here. Like, we showed up to Zion, right? We're a little bit of the ragtag crew showing up. We're trying to do this thing, kind of blow up, have some guys sort of finish, right? And piece it together. But like, how cool would it be if it's like, holy shit, this Tribal group brought 20, 25 people. They had like 3 people finish, you know, around 12 hours, fucking smoke this thing. Then they had a few groups towards the middle. And then they had a couple of groups where it was like, holy cow, man, I can't believe these guys are actually doing this entire event, right? So we're, again, vision expanded vision, more impact, more people, more experience, more meaning. Let's go. All right. I will leave it. If anybody has anything else they want to chime in with, but I think that I've shared what I wanted to share on this call, and I appreciate everybody jumping on here. Thought about sending a message, a video. I was like, fuck it. There's no way I'm going to be able to capture this in 90 seconds. Okay. With that, we will close it down. Thank you guys. I'll get this up live. Probably just throw this on the podcast feed, to be honest. We got great conversation here on how we're developing in real time. So I will see you guys in the chat. Adios.
Yes.